Thursday morning, folks. We'll be getting started in about 45 to 60 seconds. Everybody put your seats in the upright position. Stow your tray tables and put away all electronic devices. We are set to land pretty soon. Book of the day, Sales Discipline System. This book shows you how to use the 8 key disciplines of top salespeople in any industry to say goodbye to up and down months and inconsistent habits. Any of you want to step your discipline up, your consistency, and the consistency of your outcomes up in the sales world. And everybody's in the sales world, by the way. You're either good at it or you're bad at it. This book right here, the Sales Discipline System, will solve that problem. Just go to salesdisciplinebook.com. That link is in my profile. In my profile on whatever app you happen to be watching this on. And again, that is Sales Discipline System. SalesDisciplineBook.com. Get the book, Sales Discipline System. Good morning, everybody. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Tell me where you are checking in from. Tell me your locations as we get started. Jersey Girl Baby on Instagram. Good morning. Good to see you. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Tell me where you are checking in from. Y'all know what the topic is. Everybody knows what the topic is. For whatever reason, the boards on TikTok are not showing. I don't know where the boards went. I was looking at it earlier today, and I edited the board, but then the board itself, can y'all see the board? I don't see it, but maybe y'all can see it. Can y'all see this board that's supposed to be like over here somewhere? I can't see it, but I guess some of y'all can see it. I don't know. Tuscaloosa, Alabama is in the building. Good morning. Where y'all checking in from? Shout yourselves out. Y'all can't see it. I can't see it either, so I don't know what's going on with TikTok. Maybe I need to restart it, but I'm not restarting it for that. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Everybody knows what the topic is. Everybody knows what we're talking about today. We are talking about Sean Puffy Combs, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy. Everybody knows what we're talking about. I told y'all this was coming. I told y'all on Monday that this was, when I did a live talking about this, that this was coming this week. I told y'all yesterday, we were talking about the DOJ and the healthcare fraud scandal, that the verdict was going to come on Wednesday, which it did, and my reasoning, now we don't know the reasoning yet, but I bet when those jurors start talking, they'll tell us the reason that they want to go home. They didn't want to be sitting in the courtroom all day today, and then having to have this hanging over their head over the 3-day weekend, and then come back to court on Monday, where we have all learned they don't even get paid for this actual job. They don't have to get reimbursed by their job, which is crazy to me. They wanted to get the hell out of there. It's 10 weeks. They wanted to get the hell out of there, and they said, all right, let's just get this. And hey, maybe this is what they actually had decided anyway, regardless of the time constraints of the situation. But I'm pretty sure the jurors wanted to get the hell out of there, and they made the decision that they made. So now we got the circumstance that we have of Diddy, and we'll get into that in 1 second. Let me get since time is of the essence here. We do everything by time around here in the Work on Your Game world. So those who don't know me or my work, everything works by time over here. So just make sure my timer is on so we don't go overtime, make sure we get to everything we need to get to. We might go to 10 o'clock today, depending on how much needs to be said. So everybody knows what happened. Most of you probably know what happened. And let me just shout out people who gave me their locations. Trucker J driving through Louisiana today. Good morning, Trucker J. Traditional said, good. Lacey River checking in from Vancouver, Washington. Shout out to Vancouver. Shout out to Washington. And Les Scott checking in from Grenada. Shout out to Grenada. Detroit's in the house. Dwayne Mitchell, good morning. Derek checking in from New Jersey. Where in New Jersey you at, Derek? Shout out to Jersey. Cyrac said the dealer getting locked up. Well, he's already locked up. He's been locked up for a year. So getting locked up is not going to be new to him. He's staying locked up. He didn't get locked up. And traditional, yes, I did. Spin said, good morning. Checking in from Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. CC checking in from, where'd that say? South Carolina. Shout out to South Carolina. Everybody tap the screen, please. Get the likes up. This is 100,000 likes day. This one I'm not compromising on. Today is 100,000 likes day because there's a lot that needs to be said here today. I'm going to get it all in between now and 10 o'clock a.m. Like the live. If y'all coming in on TikTok, like the fucking live. All right, tap the screen. There's a lot that needs to be talked about here today. And we're going to make sure everybody's clear on everything. Toadette, good morning. You don't see it? Yeah, nobody can see it. Jen 2.0 checking in from Cincinnati. Shout out to Cincinnati. Leslie Joseph said the Bronx just checked in. Shout out to the Bronx. Shout out to Fat Joe. Hortense, Georgia, growing everything. Good morning. Greenville, South Carolina is in the building. So South Carolina is heavy today. Daniel Lee from North Augusta, South Carolina. We are heavy in South Carolina today. Did not expect that, but okay. Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Shout out to Cherry Hill. Not far from Philly, my hometown. I am checking in from South Florida, by the way. My hometown, where I'm from, is Philly, but I actually live in South Florida. Dean DeBro checking in from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Shout out to Green Bay. Roanoke, Virginia is in the building. Indiana is in the building. The Bronx checked in again. Shout out to the Bronx. Bristol, Tennessee, Mississippi. No, wait a minute. Bristol, Tennessee, Mississippi. Federal court says Penn State, Altoona. You checking in from Penn State, Altoona, federal court? Who are you checking in from Penn State, Altoona? Because I actually went to Penn State, Altoona. I don't know if you're saying that because you know I went there or you actually go there. Shout out to Penn State, Altoona. Nico, 305 is in the house. Shout out to the 305. That is Miami, by the way. Tampa, Florida. I lived in Tampa for a little less than a year. Shout out to Tampa. Atlanta, Georgia's in the building. Leslie Joseph, she used to live in the Palm Coast. Palm Coast of what? Is that Florida? I'm guessing that's Florida. Federal court, so you went there together. Oh, or what was your name? I can't tell who you are. Your profile image is too small, so I can't tell who it is. I'm just going off what y'all type. Christina checking in from Detroit, Michigan. Arnie from Halifax, VA. Samantha, 615. Samantha, where's the 615? I know the 718 is New York, 213 is LA, 305 is Miami, 267 is Philly, but I don't know any other zip codes. 702 is Las Vegas, but I don't know what 615 is. What's 615? Denver's in the building. Shout out to Denver. It's beautiful out there. Leslie said, how much time are we prepared to serve with Diddy? We're going to get there in a minute. We're going to get to that. Leslie Joseph said that's Florida. Kelly from Houston's in the building. Samantha checking in from Tennessee. Shout out to Tennessee. How much time do I think Diddy will serve? We're going to get into that, Leslie. Don't worry. Don't get ahead of me. Don't worry. Don't get ahead of me, Leslie. I got you. I got you. Nikki checking in from Connecticut. All right. Enough of the location shout-outs. Let's get to the topic. Mr. Sean Combs, a.k.a. Diddy, he just got found, as of yesterday, he got found not guilty of the most serious charge. The most serious charge was a RICO charge. RICO means it was a racketeering conspiracy charge. In other words, the government was trying to say that Diddy ran a conspiratorial organization, a racketeering organization that's basically based in doing a whole bunch of crime, and it's a criminal enterprise. He got found not guilty of that charge. That charge would have gotten him, probably, it's possible he could have got 20 years to life had he got convicted of that. That was the first charge. He was not convicted of that charge. That was the most important charge that he needed to beat to have the possibility of seeing daylight again, i.e. being free again. He beat that charge. He beat the RICO charge, and he was convicted, but rather, there were 4 other charges. He had 5 total charges. He got convicted on 2 counts of illegal transportation for sexual activity. This is involving the 2 ladies, Jane, who's 50 Cent's baby mom. If you didn't know, that's 50 Cent's baby mom, and Cassie. And he got convicted on those 2 counts. He was found not guilty, however, on the other 2 counts, which were sex trafficking and, again, the overall racketeering charge. But these transportation convictions means the jury believes that P. Diddy, or Puffy, he arranged and funded illegal sexual activity and did it across state lines. I don't even like that charge, personally. You would just want to know my personal opinion. I told y'all this on Monday. I've been telling y'all this from the beginning. He should have beat all the charges. He should have got found not guilty on everything. But he didn't. And even though I don't think he should have been found guilty on this charge, because the reason I say he shouldn't have been found guilty is because the women who were involved, what was illegal about this? I believe the women were complicit. I believe 50's baby mom, and her name is actually Daphne, and Cassie, they were complicit. They were involved. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were with this man. They both said they were in love with him. They both said that he was their boyfriend for whatever time period. Now, do these look like they were dysfunctional relationships? Yes. Were they at times abusive relationships? Yes. Can we ask the question, are there relationships like this going on in America right now with non-famous people and people stay in a relationship even though they know exactly what they're dealing with? The answer is yes. Now, that doesn't make Diddy an innocent angel, but it also doesn't make him a criminal. That's the reason why I said these charges were trash from the very beginning. Please like the live you're watching on TikTok. This is a 100,000 like day. This might be a 200,000 like day. I think we might get to 200K today. Please like the live you're watching on TikTok. So this is the reason why I thought he should have beat all the charges. At the same time, if I'm talking to Diddy, if I'm having a conversation with Puffy, I'm going to say to him, okay, you getting convicted on those 2 charges, listen, I think you should have got not guilty on everything. But with all the shit that you did do that we know is true, that you weren't charged for, you should consider this a win. This is still a win for Diddy. Even though he got convicted on 2 of the 5 counts, overall, it's still a win, given that he beat Cassie's ass in front of an elevator and everybody saw it. That's on video. He has not denied it. Given that he's been living this kind of swinger, whatever you want to call this lifestyle that he lives with his sexual activity. We know that he's doing that. He admitted to that in court. Being that this guy has been an abuser of, not an abuser, but a heavy user, and seems to be encouraging others to be heavy users of illicit pharmaceuticals. We know he did that. Being that he probably had something to do with Kid Cudi's car getting blown up. We know he probably had something to do with it. We don't know for sure, but he has something to do with that. Being that he's been leveraging his power and his influence in the entertainment world and sometimes in the streets over the last 20 or 30 years to do some things that if we knew about it and if it was fully documented and that they get him to court on it, he will probably get convicted on it, and he's never been brought to court on these things. All in all, we add everything up. Is this a fair outcome for Diddy and the shit that he either we know he did or that he's probably done over the last 30 plus years, as long as we've known his name? The answer is yes. Overall, he came out victorious, even though he might still had to spend some time in prison. We're going to get to the time in a moment. So I would say overall, if I'm talking to Diddy, like, hey, it sucks that you got to stay in jail for another at least 90 days before sentencing. It sucks that you've been in jail for the last year, and yeah, that sucks for you. But overall, I mean, Diddy, let's just have a real conversation here. No cameras. Really, all the shit you've done over the last 35 years, could you consider this a loss or a win? This got to be a win. This is a win for Diddy. All right, despite the fact that this is not done. So for those of you who don't know, the 2 counts that Diddy was convicted of, please like the live, everybody. The 2 counts that Diddy was convicted of each carry a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. For those of you who don't know how the legal system works, when you get convicted of a crime, there's a minimum and a maximum of what the judge, because the jury decides whether you're guilty or not guilty. That part most of you understand. So the 12 jurors decided that Diddy was not guilty of 3 of the counts and he was guilty of 2 counts. Each of these 2 counts carries a maximum 10-year prison sentence. What happens now is, or what happens immediately, and this happened yesterday, is that the first thing is the defendants, because he got convicted of 2 of the counts, he could still get jail time or prison time. This would be prison time, federal prison time. The defendant's attorneys, they say to the judge, hey, since this guy still needs to be sentenced, and the way the legal system works, I've told y'all that anything involving the government is just fucking slow, that he doesn't get sentenced that day on the spot. There's another hearing that happens where he gets sentenced. The sentencing is not until October the 3rd. So it's still 90 more days before Diddy gets sentenced. And at the sentencing, the judge decides how much of that 10 years Diddy's going to get. So right now, the judge can give him up to 10 years for each count. So technically, Diddy could get 20 years in prison. So for those of you mad that he didn't get convicted on all 5 counts, he can still get 20 years in prison. If Diddy gets 20 years in prison, how old is Diddy? He's probably close to 60 years old. If he gets 20 years in prison, it's a wrap. It's over. If he gets 20 years. He could get 20 years, but he could get a lot less. We're going to get to that in a minute. So the judge will decide how much of the 10 years on each count. It could be 10 years separately, and the judge can decide, are they going to be 10 years back to back? Like, you got to do 10 for this count, then another 10 for the second count. Or he could have the 10 years running at the same time, concurrently. So you're basically doing 10 years on 2 different charges at the same time, and the 10 years counts for each count. The judge can decide how he wants to do it. The judge has a good amount of leeway here. And for what it's worth, this judge is a Joe Biden appointed judge. I don't know if that matters or not. Actually, that should help Diddy, because Diddy has worked for the Democrats a lot over the last 20 years, for what it's worth. I don't think that means anything, but in case any of you didn't know, that's who the judge is. So what happened yesterday is that as soon as the verdicts got read, not guilty on 3, guilty on 2, the Diddy's lawyers, they said to the judge, hey, judge, this man has never been convicted of a crime before. Believe it or not, Diddy has never been convicted of a crime. He is a high-profile person. His airplane is somewhere they said it's like in the Bahamas or something. It's being chartered right now. We will give you $1 million, not the judge, but we will post a bond of $1 million. In other words, you hold the $1 million, and if we don't show up in court, you keep the $1 million. So we're going to put $1 million up. He's already surrendered his passport, so he can't leave the country. And Diddy will only go to New York City and South Florida and South California, because those are places where his houses are. He will only go to these 3 places. and at least get to be a free man between now and sentencing, since he is technically never been convicted of a crime before. He just got found guilty of these two things, but the two things he got found guilty of are low enough on the totem pole, like generally speaking, low enough on the totem pole that usually you could let somebody out of jail for this. That's a strong argument by the defense. The prosecution, on the other hand, they said, no, do not let this mofo out of jail. Leave him in jail until sentencing. And the judge has complete leeway on this. Leave him in jail until sentencing because he could be a threat to a whole bunch of people. And because all the people who testified against him, these are all people who know him, and he's known for years. They all testified against him. If they let him out of jail, if you, judge, lets him out of jail between now and sentencing, he might go and threaten or attack or do some damage to the people who testified against him in court and basically get revenge on all these people. In other words, he would be like Tony Soprano after Uncle Jr. tried to have him taken out in the early season of The Sopranos. He would just go get all Uncle Jr.'s team like Tony Soprano did. I think Diddy might be like Tony Soprano. And if you ask me, do I think Diddy would turn into Tony Soprano? I say, yeah, probably. He'll probably be Tony Soprano, only after the 90 days. But this is what the prosecution said. Don't let him out. Cassie's attorney, and we're going to get to Cassie in a moment. Yeah, we're going to get to Cassie a lot. Cassie's attorney wrote a letter to the court and said, don't let Diddy out. There was another guy named Deontay Nash. He was the person who testified against Diddy. He said, don't let Diddy out. A bunch of people said, don't let Diddy out. And the judge, this was around 12 p.m., 1 p.m. yesterday. The judge said, let me go and take a recess. We're going to reconvene at 5 o'clock, and I'm going to tell you my decision. So in other words, the judge said, you have to pay attention to this. The judge needed 4 hours to figure out whether he was going to let Diddy get out of jail between now and sentencing, or if he's going to keep Diddy in jail between now and sentencing. Why do you need 4 hours to figure that out? You're a fucking judge. It's your full-time job. Why do you need 4 hours to figure it out? Now, according to what I heard from people who know the law better than I do, they said that this judge is a relatively new judge. He's a relatively young judge, and he didn't want to make a mistake that would make him look bad politically amongst the judge political world. So the judge's world is a political world too. So he didn't want to look bad amongst the other judges by doing something dumb. So what people who know the law, they theorize what he did during that 4 hours is that he went and called up the older judges, his mentor judges, who kind of been showing him the ropes, and asking them, what do you think about this? What should I consider? What should I consider in terms of letting this guy out or not letting him out? Because this is a high profile case. This is like a career builder or career destroying case for a judge like this guy. And after 4 hours, after quote unquote thinking about it, this is one of the biggest problems most humans have. They spend way too much time deliberating on shit, including the judge. He comes back and says, no, Diddy, you cannot get out of jail. So the judge told Diddy, you must stay in jail until sentencing. His sentencing is not till October 3rd. So that's literally 3 months from today. Diddy has to stay in jail for another 90 days. He's already been in jail for a year. Now, why does this matter? This matters for several reasons, because when they first announced that Diddy got the counts that he got, that 2 counts were guilty, the other 3 not guilty, Diddy was pretty happy. They said, according to the court sketches, did y'all see the court sketch of Diddy after they announced the verdict? Did y'all see this? Let me show y'all the sketch of Diddy after they announced the verdict. That this is after he got convicted on 2, but he got not guilty on 3, but guilty on 2. This is Diddy, and this is just a sketch. This is not an image because you're not allowed to have cameras in the court. That's Diddy right there on the floor, on his knees, as if he's like thanking God. So even though he got convicted on 2 counts, he was on the floor like this because he was extremely happy, because he knew the biggest charge that he was worried about was that first one, was the RICO. He knew if he beat the RICO, he was in good shape. Even if he had got guilty on the other 4, he would have been in good shape. That RICO was the death blow. He didn't get the RICO. So, and you see his lawyers hugging each other. So this is, again, right after they read the verdicts. This is a guy who got convicted on 2 counts. He's happy after he got convicted. So the whole thing is, Diddy, after this happened, according to people who were in the courtroom, that Diddy was looking at his family in the courtroom and he was mouthing, I'm coming home. That Diddy said, I'm coming home, or I'm going home, after they read this. And then when the judge came out, again, this is according to people who were in the courtroom, because there's no cameras, so we don't know for sure. And please like the live if you're watching on TikTok. It's almost 500 people in here. We got 22,000 likes. That's ridiculous. Get up to 30,000 likes on TikTok. Don't make me pull a Kevin Samuels and pause it until y'all get the likes up. Get the likes up on TikTok. So according to people who are in the courtroom, when the judge said to Diddy, you are not going to get out today, you are not released until sentencing, you must stay in jail. I believe he's in Manhattan Detention Center, also known as MDC. So you have to stay in MDC until sentencing. They said that Diddy's mouth dropped when that happened. Like, he was like, when the judge said you can't. That's according to what they said, the people who were in the courtroom. Again, there's no cameras in the courtroom, so we don't know. So he has to remain in custody until then. But still, even with that said, if I'm Diddy, I'm pissed that I couldn't go. I don't want to say pissed. I'm kind of, I was on a super high because I beat the Rico. And then I had to wait, so you got this moment of tension. And then I'm like a little bit not as high because now I got to sit in jail for another 90 days. But sitting in jail for 90 days, knowing that it's 90 days before you find out your fate, is better than sitting in jail for the last year having no idea what your fate was going to be. For the last year, Diddy's just been sitting in jail waiting for a court case, and he didn't even know what the outcome was going to be. Please like the live on TikTok. Just keep tapping the screen and like the live. So now, October 3rd, he gets sentenced. Now, here's what I got to understand about the sentencing. Is that his time that he's already served is going to be factored into whatever he ends up getting. So let's just say the judge comes out, and let me remind you that it's 2 counts that carry a maximum of 10 years apiece. So the most he can get is 20 years, 10 plus 10. He could also get those 10 at the same time concurrent, but the judge does not have to give him 10 years. The judge could decide, I'm going to give Diddy 2 years. He could decide that. You get 2 years, Diddy. And the 2 years, he can factor in the time that Diddy's already been incarcerated. Diddy's been incarcerated for the last year, and now he's about to get 3 more months. So what is that? That's 15 months. So 2 years is what? 24 months. So if the judge comes out and says, you got 2 years on these charges, he's already served 15. That means he got to do 9 more months in prison, and then he comes home, and it's over. 9 months and it's done. That's a win for Diddy if the judge says 2 years. The judge says 5 years, 10 years, whatever the number is that he gets. And according to what I've heard from people who know the law really well, these type of charges, the things that he got convicted of, again, let's be clear what he got convicted of. He was convicted on 2 counts of illegal transportation for sexual activity, which is, I mean, generally this is a slap on the wrist type of charge. Usually, when this gets charged all the way up at 10, you know what it usually involves? It usually involves minors. If you get 10 years on this charge, usually it's because it involves minors. One positive thing we can say about Diddy is that there were no minors involved in this case. Now, do you think he's actually involved with them? I don't think so. I mean, he got 2 grown women doing what he needs to do, what he need to go to kids for. If he get the grown women to do it, what he need the kids for, as far as I'm concerned. So usually it's 10 years if it's minors. No minors are involved here. These were consenting grown adults, as far as I'm concerned, which is why he shouldn't even got found guilty. But being that he did, I could see the judge going anywhere up to maybe 5 years. I'm talking total jail time. Total time incarcerated, 5 years. If it's more than that, then I think the judge just may be going a little bit too far. But again, this is a Biden-appointed judge. Diddy has worked for the Democrats. Maybe that'll work in his favor. Who knows? I'm kind of being tongue-in-cheek with that one. But this is the situation. So we won't know until October 3rd. Now Diddy has to sit in jail until October 3rd, not knowing exactly how much time in jail he's going to get. But Diddy has some very good lawyers, as y'all can see. Diddy's got some good attorneys. They didn't even call a witness, and they pretty much got a pretty good win as far as where this whole thing went. Now, all this being said, if this case had been, because a lot of people I'm sure are pissed off that Diddy beat this case. Let me ask that question. If you are happy about the outcome for as far as Diddy, put yes, and if you are disappointed with the outcome, put no in the comments. If you are happy with what happened with Diddy, put yes. If you're disappointed, put no. Happy, put yes. Disappointed, put no. So I'm seeing some yeses and some nos. I think it's about, okay. Okay. I see you. A lot of no's. Okay, more than I thought. So it's about 70% of you saying no, and about 30% of you saying yes. Here's what I'll say. Please like the live if y'all watching on TikTok. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of no's. I hear you. I hear you saying no. If this was a domestic violence case, if this case had been domestic violence, because everybody knows for sure, and the reason why I'm framing it this way is that when that video came out of Diddy beating Cassie in the elevator, we all saw it. We all know what happened. There's no denying it. Diddy came out the very next day with a video saying, hey, I was wrong. I was bad. What happened on that video is no excuse, etc. So everybody heard that, right? He admitted basically to beating her ass in front of the elevator. The problem is he was not charged with beating her ass in front of the elevator. First of all, this is a federal case. That would have been a state level case in California. Secondly, the statute of limitations on something like that is literally 1 year. I didn't know that, but that's what it is. I found that out. Statute of limitations in California for something like what he did to Cassie in the elevator is 1 year. Those who know what the statute of limitations means, it means that's how much time you have to go to the authorities and try to get someone basically held accountable in a criminal way for something that they did wrong. If it's domestic violence like that, you have 1 year. After a year, the statute of limitations is up, and basically you can't take them to court for it. So that happened, and that was almost 10 years ago when that happened. We never saw the video, right? But Cassie still got paid off it. We're going to get to Cassie in a moment. Now, if that had been a domestic violence case, if I was Diddy's attorney or his advisor, I'd say, yo, just take a plea deal because you clearly beat the girl's ass. It's on film. And here's the thing, folks, that when there's these type of cases, there's two things that the authorities need. They either need footage of it happening, which they can use as proof, undeniable proof, or they need eyeball witnesses. Those are the two things you need, footage or eyeball witnesses. In this case, there was no footage of these things that Diddy had done. There was the freak-offs, but it looked like, again, if you look at the freak-off videos, we didn't see them. But according to how it's described, that the girls were engaged in the freak-offs. Their whole thing was, no, this guy had me kind of mentally brainwashed and he was coercing me and abusing me to the point that I pretended to go along with it just because I wanted to please him. And the whole time he has me under his spell and I can't get away. This is the whole case. This is what the case was built on. And this is why they had the domestic violence expert testifying and all these things. And if it had been domestic violence, then we would have just had it because Diddy is on tape. But this whole thing introduces one term. And that term is reflected in the title of Jay-Z's debut album. It is called Reasonable Doubt. And Diddy's lawyers, they only have one job. And they know exactly what their job is. For those of you who don't understand how the law works when it comes to trials, the most important thing you do when you're a trial attorney is you have to understand how the law is being interpreted. And that's all you got to focus on. It's not about being right. It's not about being innocent or guilty. It's about how well you can interpret the law and make sure that the jury understands that what we're arguing here is not if you think this is a good guy or a bad guy, if this person did the right thing or the wrong thing. What you need to understand is how the law is written and how you as a jury are required to interpret the law. And if there's any amount of reasonable doubt and the prosecution has not proven their case beyond that reasonable doubt, then you must vote not guilty. That's the way the law works. And for those of you remember, back in 1995, Johnny Cochran, probably the most famous statement ever made in the courtroom by a real lawyer, not on TV. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. This is the reason why I said Diddy should have got off on all these charges. It didn't fit. And it's not that Diddy's completely innocent as a human being. And I don't like making moral judgments, but I guess most of you probably don't. Y'all ain't feeling Diddy on a moral level. I get it. This ain't a moral challenge. This is a legal challenge. Morality and legality ain't the same thing. And this didn't fit because there was enough reasonable doubts. You were in love with this man, right? Jane? Yes. You were in love with this man, right? Cassie? Yes. You were in a relationship with this man. Yes. You called a bunch of these male escorts and you arranged the male escort. You were telling Diddy which escorts you liked and which ones you didn't like, which ones you liked having sex with, which ones you didn't like having sex with. And you were picking and choosing amongst the escorts. You were calling them. You were greeting them when they came to the door. You came to the door to greet them. You were paying them the money. You were involved in this whole thing. Now, if you want to say you were coerced, you want to say he had you brainwashed, you want to say that he was controlling your life, you want to say he was controlling your albums, you want to say he was paying your rent, Jane, still paying your rent to this very day. Okay, I'll accept all of that. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of involvement you had in this situation. That involvement, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that Diddy is right or wrong. Here's what I'm saying. That involvement introduces reasonable doubt. And that reasonable doubt is all you need to win a court case because the prosecution has the burden of proof. The burden of proof is not on Diddy to prove that he's innocent. In the United States of America, you are innocent until they prove that you are guilty. The prosecution had to prove that he was guilty, and if there's any amount of reasonable, and you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. If there is any reasonable doubt, then you must be acquitted. In the famous words of Johnny Cochran, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. He should not have even been found guilty of the two things that he got. All right, it did not fit. So up to 10 years. Now, I don't know if y'all saw this on the. Actually, I'll get to that in a second. If this was a domestic violence case, let me go back to what I was saying. I would have told Diddy just take the deal. All right, take a plea deal, take 5 years, take 10 years. If the feds got you on a domestic violence case, they got you because you're on video, you admitted it is over. This wasn't a domestic violence case. This was a coercion, mentality, brainwashing, whatever you want to call it. And you can't measure that. You can't count it. You can't videotape it. There's no statistics for this. So it's a very difficult case to prove. The prosecution took on it. This is a very tough case to prove. It's very tough to prove that one person is mind controlling another person. And that's the reason why the person who's being mind controlled are doing things that are technically illegal because Cassie and Jane could have been co-conspirators in this case. And we're going to get back to that in a second. So don't let me forget about that. they're saying that I was being mind controlled, so that's why I was doing these illegal things, and he's the one that was masterminding the entire thing. I was just doing what he made me do because he was controlling my life. It's very hard to prove that because you can't prove thinking. You can't prove mindset. It's very difficult to prove mindset. So anytime a prosecution brings a case like this, they have a very, very steep uphill battle to climb, very steep uphill hill to climb, because you got to prove something that you can't literally prove it. You can't. You just got to get the jury. You got to convince the jury that this is what it is. And the defense, Diddy's defense, did a great job of just introducing enough reasonable doubt that they didn't have to do anything else. They didn't have to put Diddy on the stand. They didn't have to call any witnesses. All they had to do was introduce enough reasonable doubt, and that was enough to win on 3 of the 5 counts, and we'll see what happens with these other 2 counts. Now, as far as that RICO charge, and this is the reason why the RICO charge was nonsense. RICO is a criminal enterprise, and it is a conspiracy, which means there must be at least 2 people involved in the process. Who is Diddy's co-conspirator? Now, those of you who have been following the case, you know the co-conspirator was pretty much Cassie and Jane, which is 50 Cent's baby mom, the 2 girlfriends. They were the co-conspirators. They both got granted immunity by the government in order to testify on behalf of the government against Diddy, because this whole case was about getting Diddy. And Diddy's defense attorneys did a great job of making sure the jury understood that. All they're doing is making this case to try to get this guy. They're trying to get this successful black man who's built a business. Now, him being black have anything to do with this? Generally, I would say no. But, hey, even though I'm not a fan of the race hustlers, if there's a chance that you can use it opportunistically to help your situation, I can't knock it. I can't knock your hustle. I can't knock your hustle. The defendant attorneys used the fact that he's a black man. And look at these 6 white female prosecutors all trying to go against him in the biggest district in the United States of America. Oh, I would use it too. If I was Diddy's attorney, I would have did it too. Why? Because in court, my job is to get the preferred outcome for my client. That's my job as an attorney, is to get the preferred outcome from my client. It is not my job to do what I think is morally right. It's not my job to do what I think is will make somebody happy or sad. My job is to get what my client wants. And my client can sit there and tell me all the terrible things he did. My job is to get my client what he wants. He's paying me to get him out of jail. I'm going to get him out of jail. That's my job. And that's the job of the law. So if they want to use race, they want to use anything else they want to use, they want to make Cassie look crazy, then, hey, that's the game. You get on the stand, you get cross-examined. That's the game. So as far as Cassie, again, we're going to get to Cassie in a second. I keep telling y'all that. We're going to get to her. So this RICO charge is supposed to be a conspiracy. Who's the conspirators? Cassie and Jane. Daphne. They got immunity to go against Diddy. If they're the conspirators, that means everything that they were doing was just as illegal as what Diddy was doing. The only reason they weren't on the stand, on the defense side with Diddy, because they agreed to work with the feds. They would have said to the feds, fuck you, I'm not doing it. They would have got charged too, along with him. They folded. So that's something else. Y'all should just keep that in mind. All right. Daphne and Cassie both could have told the feds, no, I'm not helping you. They would have just got charged along with Diddy. They would have been on that side of the courtroom with Diddy. That's what would have happened. Problem is, the government wouldn't have had a case had Cassie said no. Let me take a sip of water while y'all think about that. Just think about what that means. When the government went to Cassie and they said, we know you were involved in these things that Diddy was doing. We've been watching this guy for 10 years. Daphne, we know you were involved in these things that he was doing. We've been watching this guy for 10 years. You are complicit too. Now, here's the thing. If you don't want to go to jail and you don't want to get charged with the RICO next to your boyfriend Diddy, then all you got to do is flip. Flip just means you got to testify against this guy that you were just with on our behalf, and we'll grant you immunity so you won't get charged with the crimes that we know you did. All you got to do is help us out. Cassie or Jane could have said, fuck you, feds, I'm not doing it. I'm standing with Diddy. Y'all can charge me and Diddy. They could have did that. They didn't do it. Y'all just think about that. Y'all just think about what that means. And I'm going to tell you what it means in a minute. But I just want y'all to think about what that means. Now, outside of the courtroom, people were pouring baby oil on each other. Did y'all see the videos? People are spraying baby oil on each other. Like, you know when the sports team wins the championship and they spray champagne? People are spraying baby oil to celebrate Diddy. I guess, quote unquote, winning. Most people look at this as a win for Diddy, which is hilarious. Now, he still has to face sentencing. Again, they're arguing about release, and some lawyers I saw say that Diddy's attorneys can keep trying to get him released. So it's not set in stone that he has to stay in jail till October 3rd. He might find a way to get out. They're going to keep trying to get him out. I mean, how much Diddy's paying these lawyers? They better keep trying to get him out. And the defense attorney, as I said, their whole job here was just, all they did was use the witnesses that the prosecution brought and just use it against them. So those of you who watch boxing, you watch somebody like Floyd Mayweather. I watched all of Floyd's fights, and most of them multiple times. Floyd is a classic counterpuncher. And what does a counterpuncher do? Counterpuncher just waits till you throw a punch, and then he uses your offense against you. He uses your aggression against you. That's all the defense did here. They just counterpunched. They just played Floyd Mayweather this whole trial. They just let you call a witness, let the witness say all their stuff. Then all they did was come up there and just poke holes in whatever the witness just said. That's all they did. They just cross-examined, just poke holes in everything the witness said, just to open up enough reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury, and that's all they had to do. They did that the whole case. So all they did was use all the prosecution's aggression against them. And generally, we got to say it worked. So Diddy, whatever he paid those lawyers, they got their money's worth. They got their money's worth. Now let's talk about Cassie and Jane. Chris Brown had a song several years ago. It was four words in the title. Anybody know the song that I'm referring to? Because we're gonna talk about Cassie and Jane right now. Anybody know that song? It was four letters in the title. It was a song by Chris Brown. Anybody know the song that I'm referring to? Please like the live if you're watching on TikTok. Does anybody know the Chris Brown song that I'm referring to 4 years ago? Not 4 years ago. 4 words in the title. Zen Jin just told us. And Quintella, I see you cleaned it up. Yeah, these hoes ain't loyal. All right, we can say it. Let's just say it plain as day. These hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. I just told you how they're not loyal. Either one of them could have said, I'm not cooperating with you, federal authorities. I will stand with Diddy. I will sit with Diddy. I will go to jail with Diddy. But you're going to have to charge me too. Y'all going to do a RICO? Okay. I'll be a co-defendant with Diddy. Let's do it. I mean, Diddy got lawyers. Diddy got lawyer money. All right. They could have been all right. As long as Diddy was going to keep them on his side. We got to make sure he would have did that. We don't know because we know what happened with Shine 25 years ago with the J-Lo case. But assuming that he would have rode with them they would have rode with him, they didn't have to testify. So any of you think that they had to testify on behalf of the government? No, they didn't. They could have said, no, charge me too. They didn't do it. They flipped on Diddy. Now, let me tell you why we're saying that these hoes ain't loyal. For a couple things you need to understand. First of all, a female, if you're a man, you can't expect a female to stand tall with you up against this type of pressure the way you would expect a man to. Now, if a man flips on you like this, now you can look at him crazy. If a woman flips on you like this, you can't look at her as crazy as you would look at a man. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Like if my man flipped on me like that because he got some pressure from some cops or federal authorities, I'm looking at him crazy. All right, that's a scar that goes on your reputation. That's on your resume forever. All right, your kids, your sons, that goes on your resume forever because you did that as a man. If a woman does it, it's not the same thing because you can't expect a woman to stand up to the same type of heat that a man stands up to. A woman is not built for that. Women are built from the hips to bear children. Men are built from the shoulders to bear pressure. So it's different what I would expect from a man than what I expect from a woman. At the same time, the reason we got to talk specifically about Cassie and Jane is, first of all, Cassie was with Diddy for 10 years. She's not that good of an artist. This is why she ain't put out that much music. He wasn't holding back her career. She just ain't that talented. All right, Cassie ain't Beyonce. All right, she ain't talented. That's the reason why her music never came out. She broke up with Diddy 7 years ago. She ain't put no music out yet. All right, she ain't that good. So he wasn't holding back her career. She was holding back her career due to her lack of talent. She got signed because Diddy probably liked her. That's probably why she got signed, as we can see. Now, I'm bringing all that up to say this. Cassie sued Diddy for $30 million. In what, 2023? Wrestling said, what you expect from a woman is the same loyalty. No, you don't. You can't expect a woman to do the same thing a man would do. If you're walking in a mall and 3 men try to jump you and beat you up, you can't expect your wife to jump in and try to fight too. She's going to get beat up. What she should do is run away. All right, but you can't expect a woman to do the same thing a man would do. If that was the case, then women and men there wouldn't be no difference between women and men. It would just be one human. So no, they're not the same thing. So Cassie sued Diddy for $30 million. All right, she puts all the stuff in the lawsuit that basically came out in court. Everything that was in that lawsuit came out in court. Not all of it was the charge, but it all came out in court. Diddy settles the lawsuit and pays her $20 million. We found that out. So she sued him for 30. He paid her 20. They settled for 20. So Diddy just gave Cassie $20 million after he was with her for 10 years. And she married the personal trainer that he hired for her. Y'all know that, right? That the guy that Cassie is married to now was a personal trainer that Diddy hired for Cassie while Diddy was still with Cassie. She just starts confiding in the personal trainer. She falls in love with the personal trainer, breaks up with Diddy, and starts dating the personal trainer. Now that's her husband, and they got 3 kids together. That's how they got together. That's how that's how Cassie met her husband. For those who don't know. And by the way, she was still doing freak off parties with Diddy while she was starting to date the personal trainer who is now her husband. I believe the man's name is Alex. That guy. So speaking of that man, first of all, he knew exactly the kind of life Cassie was living, and he married her anyway. I'm just going to go like this. I'm just going to go like this for 5 seconds just so y'all see it. All right. He knew exactly how she was living. He married her anyway. I'm just going to go like this. Hey, do what you want to do. All right, do what you want to do. Okay, and she was still having freak off parties with Diddy while she was with dude, while she was starting to get with the new dude, and this came out in the trial. At one point, Cassie's in a freak off party with Diddy, like laying in bed. The dude, her husband now, I believe his name is Alex. He calls Cassie because he's trying to find out where his girl is because he's basically treating her like his girl at this point. He calls her on FaceTime. Cassie answers the FaceTime call. She's laying in a bed at a freak-off party where Diddy's at. This is in the trial. This all came out in testimony, folks. I'm not making this up. This all came out in testimony. This is not word on the streets. This came out in testimony. She took a FaceTime call from her now husband while she's in a freak-off party with Diddy. I'm saying that to say, dude, the husband, he knew exactly what kind of life she was living, and he married her anyway. Do what you want to do. I'm just go like this. No, FaceTime existed, sir. Whoever said FaceTime didn't exist. This is testify. This is testimony, folks. I'm not making this up. This is a testimony. She testified. This is what happened. And I'm saying all that to say this. She takes the $20 million from Puff, right? This is after she's already with the other dude. Sues Puff for 30. She gets 20. Then she goes and flips on him. All right, just on that alone, these hoes ain't loyal. Just on that alone, these hoes ain't loyal. And I'm looking at the dude funny as well. Honestly, I'm looking at dude funny. I get it on one hand. Like, are you going to tell your wife and the mother of your children to go and take a RICO charge with a guy that she's not even with anymore, that I guess maybe she hates now because of the way he treated her for 10 years, and now you already sued him and got the money? I don't know if there's a third option here, but I'm still looking at dude funny. I'm still looking at him funny. They went and took $20 million. Cassie even explained on the stand, everybody, because I heard people saying Cassie already had money before she got with Diddy. No, Cassie didn't have shit. When Cassie broke up with Puff, this is all in testimony, folks. Everything I'm telling you came out in testimony. When Cassie broke up with Puff, her and that new dude, they were together now. They went and stayed at Cassie's family's house, and I believe she's from Connecticut. They went and stayed at that house because they didn't have no money. Cassie and the dude. The personal trainer and Cassie went and stayed at her family's house because the two of them together did not have any financial resources. So that might be why she sued Diddy for that 30. Then she sued the Intercontinental Hotel for the 10. She got 10 out of them. So Cassie went and made $30 million out of getting her ass beat. I'm not saying she's wrong for suing him, but I'm just putting it on the record. That happened. And then she went and testified against the man to try to get him put away. And then after all of that, she went and had her lawyer write a letter to the judge yesterday and said, don't let him out of jail because he could be a threat to all of us. Bitch, don't you got a new husband? He a personal trainer. What you afraid of? You got a new husband that basically rescued you. We got to say he rescued you from Diddy. He's a personal trainer. He was in the courtroom while Cassie was testifying. They just had a third child. Now you don't want Diddy to get out of jail because he might do something to you. Well, he eventually going to get out of jail at some point. What you going to do, run? I ain't feeling this. I'm just not feeling the way that went down. I'm not feeling Cassie for any of this. Or her husband. And I ain't never heard her husband talk, but I ain't feeling this. Personally. I'm just not feeling I'm not feeling these movements. That's just the way I'm saying. I'm not feeling these movements by Cassie. You got $30 million out of it. I understand she got her ass beat for the $30 million, but she did get $30 million out of it. And then again, after all of this, let's just say that she was like, you know what? Fuck Diddy. I hate Diddy. I'll never want to think about Diddy ever again. When the feds came, she said, yeah, I'll help you. I'll help you put that guy away. Put that monster away. Let's just say that's the way she was thinking. And her husband was like, yeah, put him away. All right, let's just assume that's true, right? Why she have her lawyer write that letter yesterday? I mean, you already testified against him. He already got 2 counts guilty. You already got your husband. You just had your 3rd kid. Why are you trying to bury the man even further? Why did she have her lawyer write that letter? She should have told her lawyer, no, don't write the letter. As a matter of fact, she should have told her lawyer to say, let him out. Let him out. I got my husband with me. Let him come if he want to come. That's what she should have said. I mean, how long you gonna run? What you gonna run? What's her play here? Don't let him out of jail because he's gonna be a threat. Okay, it's only 90 days, bitch. What do you think's gonna happen after? What do you think's gonna happen in October? I'm just not feeling these moves. I'm not feeling how Cassie and her husband moved on this. If it was just Cassie by herself, then I wouldn't even be saying this, because a woman, you can't always predict what a hoe's gonna do. But she got a man. I'm not feeling this move personally. Now let's flip over to Jane. Jane, i.e., 50 Cent's baby mom. So, and again, the whole frame of this little segment here is these hoes ain't loyal. All right, and I'm gonna come back to Cassie in a second. Jane. First of all, Jane has a baby with 50 Cent. 50 Cent has issues with Diddy that I think go before Jane was the main thing. Jane goes, and she's not with 50 anymore. They got a kid. She's not with 50 anymore. She goes and starts dating Diddy. All right, so already, these hoes ain't loyal. You know that man got an issue. It's like Nas and Jay-Z. All right, remember Jay-Z was making songs about dating or sleeping with Nas' baby mom back in the day? Okay, so you know I got an issue. All the people I know in the entertainment industry, the one dude I got the issue with, that's the dude you gonna go date? Really? That's what you gonna do, Jane? That's what you gonna do? You gonna go date the one dude I got issues? Only other dude that Jane could have dated that would have been worse than a Puff is Ja Rule. Let's say 50's baby mom goes and sleeps with Ja Rule. That's the worst. That's the only thing worse than that. She goes and dates Puff. That's what she does. These hoes ain't loyal. All right, she's a hoe just for doing that. All right, just for the record, just for doing that, she knows she's wrong. She knew exactly what she was doing. Jane. All right, that's number one. Number two, this came out in testimony. This came out in testimony, folks. This is not word on the streets. This came out in testimony. Please like the live on TikTok. Jane is living in some condo in LA that costs $10,000 a month. Fine. That's how much real estate costs in those Manhattan, Miami, LA. $10,000 a month is not crazy. But she living by herself with a kid. She don't need a $10,000 a month place. But I understand. Puffy's paying the rent. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know? Like today is July 3rd. So 2 days ago, the first of the month, the rent was due. Puff paid the rent. To this day, Puff is paying the rent on the apartment of a woman who just testified in court against him. That's happening right now today. He's still paying her rent to this day. She testified in court. He's still paying my rent. Jane. Now, some people asking, who cares? Why is that? These hoes ain't loyal. How I'm paying your rent, bitch, and you in the I just got kicked off of TikTok. So they said violation reasons, sexual exploitation and gender-based violence. Now I had like 1,000 people watching this live, so y'all hold on, we gonna get this fixed. I gotta take a picture of this. So sexual exploitation and gender-based violence is the the charge that I got on TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are jumping over on Instagram from TikTok. Sexual exploitation and gender-based violence. We are committed to providing a space that embraces gender equity, supports healthy relationships, and respects intimate privacy. We do not allow sexual exploitation or gender-based violence, including non-consensual sexual acts, image-based sexual abuse, sextortion, physical abuse, and sexual harassment. Visit our community guidelines for more information. So yeah, TikTok just kicked me off because they said that I violated the sexual exploitation and gender-based violence. I didn't do that, so I'm going to appeal this. I think we can get this fixed. So given the diversity of our community, we do not allow content that shows or promotes sexual activity or services nudity or sexual explicit narratives. I didn't do that, so we're going to fix this. I probably shouldn't have kept saying ho, but we'll fix this. Hold on. And I'm just going through the appeal process right now. This is usually pretty quick. So I will say my live does not contain the content mentioned in this notice. And by the way, we had so many people watching. It might have been some people just getting mad at what I was saying. So I just submitted this appeal. We're going to wait. We're going to wait on this appeal. Ohio J said we can't call hoes no more. Yeah, I think it's probably because I kept saying hoes. So next time I'm going to say these bros. I think I'll change it to these bros. I've been saying that the other day and nothing happened. I didn't even get a restriction on TikTok. So my guess here, this is my theory, and we'll find out if I'm right or not, is that usually when I got kicked off on TikTok, we're just waiting. So My theory, because this is from my experience, this is the 13th time I've been kicked off the middle of a live stream on TikTok in the last less than a year, is that if I'm saying something that violates their normal community guidelines, they warn me at first. They'll put something up on the screen that says, yo, don't say that, watch what you're saying. And then if I say it again, then they'll kick me off. I didn't get a warning this time, which tells me, because it was like 1,000 people watching that live, it tells me that there were people watching the live who just didn't like what I was saying. They probably flagged my live. And if it's humans flagging my live, that's actually a good thing, because I usually can beat those appeals. Now, if I just lose it on TikToks, on their rules, then that's a whole different story. Then you pretty much are screwed. So right now, I think I can get back. So we're waiting on this appeal right now. So the appeal is in review. They say the appeals usually take up to 24 hours. They never take that long. So the appeal usually takes literally like 5 minutes. So I submitted this appeal at 8:52 a.m. It's now 8:54 a.m. So we're just waiting. Ohio J said it was definitely some emotional person. It was a bunch of them. It was 1,000 people in there. So you could bet, I'd say about half of them didn't like what I was saying and half of them did. So 500 people not liking what you're saying, that's enough to get you banned real quick. So this appeal is in review. We're just waiting on this. This usually doesn't take that long. So let's see. And we're still waiting. View details. They haven't given me all that. They're still catching me up on what happened. So we're just waiting right now. I got kicked off of my live stream on TikTok. Those of you coming over from TikTok. And they said that I violated the sexual exploitation and gender-based violence community guidelines, which I didn't. But we're going to get back to that in a second. So this live had 11,000 viewers at the time that I got kicked off. So we're still waiting. So we're still waiting right now. In a minute, we're going to try to get back on. I got to take screenshots of these things to make sure we got everything on the record. So view details. We're waiting on this appeal. Oh, my appeal was rejected, folks. My appeal was rejected. And we found that your live violates our community guidelines. Your live access will not be restored. And live access, your access to go live across all channels, including multi-guests, will be restored on July 10th at 8:51 a.m. So they just kicked me off. So I got kicked off of TikTok, and I cannot go back live for a week. So I just got banned from TikTok for a week. So this is ban number 13. My violation reason was sexual exploitation and gender-based violence, which is nonsense because that's not even what I was doing. All I did was say the word hose, and I was using it metaphorically. But again, somebody probably didn't like the live, and it might have been somebody from TikToks. You get that many people watching, it might be somebody actually from TikTok watching and listening to what you're saying, and they decide what you can say, what you can't say. So let me see what I said here, because this is all under the sexual exploitation. So I'm talking about this Diddy case, and of course you had the violent and criminal behavior, hate speech and hateful behavior. I don't like that hate speech thing because that is basically a catch-all. They can put anything under that. Youthful sexual and physical abuse, adult sexual and physical abuse, human trafficking and smuggling, harassment and bullying. They could put it under any one of these. It could be any one of these. Mental and behavioral health. They got all of this stuff. This is all of their community guidelines. So you violate any of these, then. And my appeal got submitted at 8:52. It got rejected at 8:54. So it literally took 2 minutes for them to say no. And then it just kicked my live off and they dumped it. So now I can't even get the replay of what I was saying. But I got it recorded on all these other apps. And still people following me now after what just happened. So they just kicked me off. So I think I'm let me do a story real quick. And when it comes to live, you can go live as a guest starting on July 10th. So it's going to be a whole week before I can go live again. So I won't be live again until next Friday. So y'all can let the world know about that. Let me at least post to my story to let everybody know what happened. So not now. Let me see. Y'all watching on TikTok. Not that. Sound check. 1, 2. Y'all watching on TikTok. Yeah, they kicked me off in the middle of the live. Allegedly, I violated the community guidelines for that HOES word that I kept saying. They denied my appeal, so I can't go live again until next Friday. July 11th will be my next live stream. Yep. What is this music? All right, so TikTok puts this music automatically when you post something to your story.
Watching on TikTok, yeah, they kicked me off in the middle of the live. Allegedly, I violated the community
Let me
guidelines for
put some text on this.
That's word that I kept saying. They denied my appeal, so I can't go live again until next Friday, July 11th.
1 second on Instagram. We'll get back to y'all.
Yeah, they kicked me off in the middle of the live. Allegedly, I violated the community guidelines for that HOES word that I kept saying. They denied my appeal, so I can't go live again until next Friday, July 11th will be my next live stream. Y'all watching on TikTok, yeah, they kicked me off in the middle of the live. Allegedly, I violated the community guidelines for that HOES word that I kept saying. They denied my appeal, so I can't go live again until next Friday.
All right, so I just posted that. All right, so those of you who came over from TikTok, I don't know if anybody came over from YouTube. Are we active on YouTube? I'm just looking. YouTube, make sure the YouTube stream is working properly. Are we good on YouTube? Let me check. Let me see how we're doing on Facebook. All right, so a couple people jumped over from Facebook. Carla, I see you over there. They just kicked me off, Carla. They kicked me off from Facebook. Oh, shit. I forgot to start it over on... Yeah, I forgot to start it on LinkedIn, so we'll keep LinkedIn where it is for now. Hold on 1 second, and then we'll get back to everybody here. So Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So you don't have to be sorry this happened. This has happened before. All right, I am equipped to deal with this. This has happened before. So what I was in the midst of saying, and continuing what I was talking about, because we do have a recording of all this, so this recording will get out at some point, is that these hoes ain't loyal, and that Jane is already getting her rent paid by 50 Cent. Carla, what's going on? Good morning. So they are getting Jane's getting her rent paid by, not 50 Cent, excuse me, by Diddy, after she went behind 50's back and went and got with his rival, maybe out of just trying to get at 50. I mean, she could get at whoever she wants. She could date whoever she wanted to. She chooses to go get with Diddy when she knows that 50 and Diddy ain't cool with each other. Ain't cool with each other. She's still getting her rent paid by the man, and then she goes and testifies against him when she could have did the same thing that Cassie did. She could have said, no, I'm not going to cooperate with you, feds. I will charge me, and I'll get a lawyer, or Diddy will pay for my lawyer. He's paying for my house. He might as well pay for my lawyer, and I'll just go fight the case. He could have did that. She could have did that. Cassie could have did it. Neither one of them did it. These hoes ain't loyal, and they both stabbed. They tried to stab Diddy in the back. They did kind of stab him, but they only scratched him. All right, it didn't go. It's just a flesh wound. It didn't get deep enough when they tried to stab him. And this is just, as far as I'm concerned, just crazy. It just shows you the type of, I believe, type of character that all these people have, because Diddy's involved in this, because your woman is a reflection of you. And Diddy chose these two chicks. And not only was Diddy doing crazy shit, we can't act like Diddy wasn't doing crazy shit. Diddy was doing crazy shit. The way he was living and the kind of stuff he was doing behind closed doors sexually, he basically admitted to all of it. Diddy was doing some wild shit. And he found some girls who were willing to do the wild shit with him, regardless of if you think he was coercing them. It ain't like he had them locked up in the basement, right? So they were going with him. They were taking pictures with him. I was just watching a fight. Whose fight was that I was watching? It was a fight of, I think it was not Diddy, excuse me. It was Floyd Mayweather. Can't remember who he was fighting. It was one of Floyd's later fights, like one of the last 10 fights of his career. He's fighting somebody, and of course the fight's in Vegas. And you know how in between rounds they show you the famous people in the crowd. They show you Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Mark Wahlberg, and guess who was there? Diddy and Cassie. All right, sitting right there in like the fifth row of the fight, Diddy and Cassie. And I'm saying that to say this. Right, it ain't like she was locked up in the basement. All right, he was beating her ass. We know that was happening, and he was controlling her in many ways, yes. At the same time, she went along with this. She went along with the lifestyle that he was offering because Cassie wasn't making no money on her own. She didn't have anything. When she broke up with Diddy, her and her new husband moved into her family's house because Cassie ain't had no money. So it ain't like she was making money doing anything else. So she went along with this to get the lifestyle that came with it. Same thing with Jane. She's still getting her rent paid by Diddy to this day. Even though she's been in interviews claiming she makes a bunch of money on Instagram, she's not paying her own rent. She's letting Diddy pay the rent, even though she just testified against the man. And these are the type of women that Diddy chose. Diddy, we got to put this on you. This goes on your track record, Diddy. You chose these women. These are the women when you are out there as a well-known dude who everybody knows who you are, and you have access to lots of people. These are the women you chose to get with. And based on his lifestyle, these are the type of women who would accept being with him. because there are other women who might be just as beautiful as Jane or Cassie, who, if they got a taste of the kind of life Diddy was living, they like, no, I'm good. I ain't doing that. I'm not living like that. Like, yeah, you're cool and all, Diddy, and yeah, you got money, and it'd be nice to be in the spotlight, but this is what I got to do to be with you. Nah, I'm good. So the way Diddy was living attracted a certain type of woman, and a certain type of woman does certain types of things, like testify against you in court for the feds when you are facing life. Your life is on the line. At his age, this is pretty much life. The Rico doesn't necessarily have a life sentence. It could, but he was facing life. Diddy's like 60 years old or 50 something, mid 50s probably. This dude's facing life, and they testified against you. Well, these are the kind of women you attracted, Diddy. You got to own that. You attracted them with the way you were living and the type of dude you have been for all these years. This is the kind of women that you bring into your orbit. With all of attraction, you attracted this. So Diddy got to own that. At the same time, these women got to own it. These hoes ain't loyal. All right, this is some disloyal shit that they did. And again, they both got money out of this, man. Then they testified. It'd be one thing if he left them high and dry, sitting in a cardboard box on a corner somewhere at the train station. It'd be one thing if he did that, then they testified. I'd say, okay, that's retribution. But they went and did this, and after he already paid him, now I don't know how much money he gave Jane, like writing her a check. He probably wrote her some checks, but he's paying her rent. It's at least $100,000 a year. $10,000 a month in a year is $120K. So he at least gave her that. He gave Cassie 20. He was funding her whole lifestyle because as soon as she broke up with him, she ain't had nothing. So everything she had and everything she was doing was paid out of his pocket. And Diddy seems to live a pretty lavish type of lifestyle. And that they were getting their lifestyles funded to be around this man because they wanted to live like that. And there's a lot of women who want to live like this. And one of the costs is you got to do whatever the man says. If he's funding your whole life, you got to do whatever he says. And that's the way it goes. And again, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the character of the man. This is the man that you chose to be with, Cassie. This is the man you chose to be with, Daphne. That's her real name, Jane. These are the chicks. These are the men, the man that you chose to be with. This is the way that he lives. This is the kind of guy he is, the kind of character that he has. You accepted it. You rolled with it. You're still rolling with it, Jane. And you took money from him, and then you go to court and testify against him. And now he didn't lose as badly as everybody thought he was going to lose. And now what you going to do? Hey, it is not beyond the pale that Jane and Diddy just resume living how they were living after October 3rd or whenever Diddy gets out of jail. If Diddy gets out of jail in a month, it's not crazy to think that Jane might go back to doing the same thing with Diddy that she testified about in court. Because according to testimony, Jane was still doing the freak offs and living like this all the way up to the time that Diddy got arrested. I don't know if everybody knew that. Diddy got arrested like a year ago. At that point, Diddy and Jane were still mixing in together and doing stuff. It only stopped because he got arrested, but he didn't stop paying her rent, even though he got arrested. This is the way Diddy is living. This is the way Jane was living. This is the life. That's all I can say about it. So let's just take some questions here. I don't even need to say anything else about this case. I said damn near everything I need to say. I was planning on spending most of my time taking questions today, but since I got kicked off of TikTok, there's still going to be questions. If you have questions, comments on anything that I've said, go ahead, leave them in the comments here. It's fewer people here without the TikTok audience. I would have been taking comments for an hour had we been on TikTok. But if there's anything from the people who are here, then we will take them. One thing I will tell you while we are waiting is that I'm not doing a live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 4th of July, so it won't be no live stream tomorrow. And because I got kicked off TikTok, I'll still go live. I will still do live for the next week. It will just be, of course, not on TikTok, so it'll be on Instagram, X. Oh, yeah, I meant to check X. Instagram, X, LinkedIn, Rumble, YouTube, Studio. Let me make sure I'm still live. Am I live over here? Yes, I am live. Let's see. But then it's saying this broadcast is not available. I think something may be going on with Rumble Studio. I think my Rumble Studio didn't pop the way it was supposed to here today. So I had to fix that. I think the Rumble Studio didn't go live. But let me check. If anybody got a question or comment, go ahead and post it now while I check on YouTube and find out what's going on. Let's see. Content live. No, it's like Rumble Studio choked. I'm gonna have to put this. I have to put the replay up. So those of you who are watching on Facebook, or not on Facebook, if you're watching on Rumble Studio, YouTube X, I got to put the video up because for whatever reason it didn't stay up. So, did Diddy ever have a mental evaluation? I don't know. If he did, it didn't come out in court. So that's all I can say. If he did have one, it did not come out in court. So what I usually do when I get kicked off is the current event topics I might hold, and I'm going to do more professional personal development topics probably next week, since I'm kicked off for a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Friday I'll have a whole I'll have a whole war chest of content when it comes to current events that we can just start firing off. So next week will kind of be like a vacation week. Maybe I'll just take a vacation. What do y'all think? Those of y'all who are watching right now on Instagram and Facebook, tell me. Actually, no, I don't think I got anything on Facebook. If you're watching on Instagram, what should I do next week? Should I take a vacation from doing the live streams and then just come back on Friday and get back to because today's Thursday, right? Yeah. So should I just take a vacation from the live streams? And I don't mean a vacation from working, but a vacation from the live streams, and then just pick up on current events on next Friday. Because what I do usually when I'm not on TikTok is TikTok's the largest audience. So I got to respect the fact that TikTok's the largest audience when it comes to my streams. And what I would do, just to give you all an idea of what I would do in this situation, is that I would talk about more personal, professional development stuff, and then get back to the current events when I have the full audience. Because TikTok today, I had 1,000 people concurrently listening to me as soon as when I got kicked off at the exact moment. So that's what I'm considering. So C-Bug said the big beautiful bill. Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. The D Lee said, when was your last vacation? You mean like a vacation when you leave where you live and go to a beach or something like that? I don't really do that kind of stuff. Last vacation that I took, last time I did something like that, well, I live in Miami, so I don't have to go anywhere for the beach. But the last time I traveled somewhere where it was just strictly for, I wouldn't even say it's strictly for pleasure, because I always mix some business in, because that way I can make it a business expense for financial purposes. But the last time I traveled somewhere like that was probably like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5. So RD is the sun out. RD is the sun out. Say you do you. I'm reading, working your game as we speak. Oh, excellent. China said, do what's best for you. I can do either one. Either one is good for me. And D. Lee said, we still got your podcast masterclass on Spotify. That's a fact. C-Bug said 1.3 thousand people on TikTok. Yeah, no, I saw it was like 1,000 people on there. And overall, they said this live was 11,000 people total. And I only did half the live. So it would have been like 25, 30,000 once I start answering questions. I wasn't even answering questions yet. I was just going through my material. But had I gotten to the questions, it would have been way more than that. It might have been my biggest one. The biggest one I ever did on TikTok since I started doing it last August, the biggest one was the one I did the day after the election. And it was called President Trump Part 2, something like that. And you know what happened that day? I got kicked off that day. And that one I was more mad about. This one I ain't even mad about. That one I was mad about because I got kicked off. I don't even remember what I said. I was saying something about Kamala. And it was the day after Trump won. And I got suspended and I appealed it and I lost the appeal. And when I lost the appeal, that means you're suspended for a whole week. You can't do any lives for a week on TikTok. And I missed that whole week of activity because that week everybody was talking about the election because it just happened. So I missed that whole week of energy talking about the election on TikTok because I could not go live on TikTok. So I'll decide by Monday what I'll do as far as doing the lives. If I am live, it'll be the same time, same places, everywhere except. Actually, I'll tell you, I probably will go live because I like giving the value. So I am going to go live. It may not need to be as much time because it will probably be fewer people, so it'll be easier for me to get through the comments and stuff since it won't be as many people. Usually I spend half the time going through comments. Half the time is content and half the time is comments. So on TikTok is where all the comments usually come from because usually 100 plus people in there. Today it was 1,000. So if I just do content, then it won't take more than probably like an hour. So that's what we're going to do. So we keep the conditioning going. So next week I will do personal, professional development stuff for those of you who are serious about growth and gains and getting better. And then next Friday, which will be the 11th, because my suspension lifts at 9 a.m., about 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. And I usually start the lives at 8 a.m. So next Friday is when I'll be back doing full lives on TikTok. And that's when I'll just jump in with whatever current event we need to address. Because there was something I was going to talk about. What was it? Oh, yeah, the alligator Alcatraz. Did y'all hear about the alligator Alcatraz that Trump is opening? And he was there for the opening the other day with down here in the Everglades, that basically a detainment camp for people who are here without proper documentation. So that topic is coming up. So tomorrow wasn't a holiday. I'll talk about that tomorrow, but it's a holiday. So I probably would have saved that for Monday, but now we're going to save it for Friday. So that's what we're going to do. China said, I think people reported it. Yeah, but even when people report it, a lot of times I still win. I lost the appeal this time. So that's what made it different. Usually if somebody reports my live, I do the appeal and I win. This time I lost. So that's what made it different. So let me see. I'm just looking over on TikTok here to see what happened. Because they tell you really quickly. As soon as your live is over, they tell you what happened. So this live right here, was this today? All right, so the live that I just did, no, this is the week. This is the weekly recap. I'm what the individual recaps. So live recordings. So the one I did today, they basically deleted the live, so I can't even get clips off of it. At least not through TikTok, because they deleted the live. So they basically erased it from history as if it never occurred. But we all know what happened. We were all there. So let me see. Rules, Creator Hub. So I'm just trying to see the analytics just for today. I don't know if they tell me just today. They won't tell me just today. Live streams, oh, here it is. So today's live stream, video analysis, 11,000 views, 23 gifts, 54 diamonds, 193 new followers, 1,000 comments, 90,000 likes. And that was only for 48 minutes. This was going to be a 2-hour live. This was guaranteed going 2 hours. And I did this in only 48 minutes, and then TikTok kicked me off. You fly too close to the sun, this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you fly too close to the sun. So, but that's okay. We will be back next Friday, and yeah, they kicked that off, but I got the footage. We got the recording right over here. I know it's recording on Facebook, so we're good right there. So, the D. said the Biden comment there was hilarious. Yeah. C-Bug said today is Thursday. Yeah, today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. It feels like Friday, but today is Thursday. So, C-Bug said, I thought it was Wednesday. I had to get food for a cookout tomorrow. Yeah, today feels like Friday. C-Bug said more states need to do more to help with deportations. Well, that's why they opened it. Crespo said, why they kick you out? Because I kept saying these hoes ain't loyal. I said it like 5 times. And then like the 5th time that I said it, they kicked me off. So I think the word hoes, I think if you keep saying it, they kick you off. TikTok has very good AI algorithm. They can listen, they can tell the context of what you're saying, and they kick you off based on that. So I think this was a contextual TikTok AI thing, because had it just been people reporting me, I think I would have won the appeal. But I didn't win the appeal, which tells me that this was on TikTok's call. But they said, nah, Dre, you can't do it. That's what I think. My theory is that TikTok was looking at it and said, no, you can't do it. So I'm looking at over on TikTok what they say. Your appeal was not approved. Your access to go live across all channels will be restored on July 10th at basically 9 o'clock in the morning. Sexual exploitation and gender-based violence is what they say. And they don't really give you any other options. You do the appeal, you win, you lose, and that's it. That's pretty much the game. That's pretty much how it works. Gender-based violence. I didn't say any gender-based violence. I just said these hoes ain't loyal. But TikTok might not know what that means. So that's the situation. Let me make sure I take a picture of this. So sometimes you fly too close to the sun on these apps. This is another reason why I tell entrepreneurs you got to make sure you own your platforms. You own your platforms, then this kind of stuff, it can happen, but you can still do what you want to do. So I am still going to do what I want to do. So I don't even need to say anything else here. So Monday, folks, tomorrow y'all enjoy your holidays and enjoy your weekends. Monday we will be back. I will do personal and professional development material for the week, Monday through Thursday. So y'all get 4 days of that. So y'all can get a taste of what kind of stuff that I talk about on my podcast. And Sasha said it could be because you said Diddy beat her ass. It could be that. Sasha, you might be right about that. I've said that like every day that we've been talking about it. They never even gave me a warning. And this is what makes it kind of confusing, because usually TikTok gives you a warning. If you say the wrong thing, they warn you. They say, yo, don't say that. But they didn't give me a warning. They just kicked me off. And I said the same thing like 5 times. They should have gave me a warning the first time. Then I would have said, okay, I won't say that anymore. I know how to modulate what I'm saying to make sure I don't trip the system. They didn't give me a warning. That's why I'm pissed off. But who knows? Maybe the people at TikTok, there might be a bunch of women working there and they're mad that Diddy didn't get convicted. That might be they were just looking for an excuse. So this kind of stuff happens when you're on other people's platforms. What everybody should learn from this is what happens when you're on someone else's platform, is that if they don't like what you're saying, they can just kick you off. So TikTok is not mine. I don't own TikTok. I have no say in what happens on TikTok. So if they kick me off, it is annoying and disappointing, because I had a lot of things that was going to get said today, and I wanted to respond to the comments. I was looking forward to that. But when you're on somebody else's platform, this is the game that you play. So I will be on the rest of these platforms, though. Starting on Monday, we'll get personal professional development. Y'all get a taste of what I do professionally, which is not usually talking about the Diddy case or Donald Trump or any of these things. We'll do that Monday through Thursday. We'll be back on Friday. So everybody have a great holiday weekend. I will see you all on Monday on Instagram, X, Rumble, YouTube, LinkedIn, not on TikTok, and Facebook. I'll see you all Monday. And Deep said Cassie and the husband had the bots out for, I think the husband got mad. That's actually what happened. The husband got mad because I was calling out the husband for letting his wife move reckless out here, and for making a wife out of a woman who was already moving reckless. That's probably who it was. So you're probably right about that. I will see everybody on Monday. We out of here. Work on your game.